I'm 71 years old, and my son hasn't called me in 15 years. Not on my birthday, not on Christmas, not once. For 15 years, I told myself he was just busy, that he had his own life, that eventually he'd come around. Last month, I found out why he really stopped calling, and I wish I didn't know. My son Michael is 43 now. He lives 2 hours away with his wife and my 2 grandchildren I've never met. A boy who's 12 and a girl who's 9. I've seen their pictures on social media. That's the only way I know what they look like. It wasn't always like this. When Michael was growing up, we were close, or at least I thought we were. I was a good father. I worked hard, provided everything he needed, put him through college, taught him how to be a man. I was tough on him, sure, but that's what fathers do. That's what my father did to me. Michael was sensitive as a kid. Too sensitive, if I'm honest. He cried easily, got his feelings hurt over nothing. I tried to toughen him up, told him boys don't cry, told him to man up, to stop being so emotional. I thought I was helping him, preparing him for the real world, making him stronger. When he was 16, he came to me about something. I don't even remember what it was now, some problem he was having at school. He was upset, almost crying. I told him to stop whining and deal with it, that life was hard and he needed to learn to handle things on his own. He just looked at me, nodded, and walked away. After that, he stopped coming to me with his problems. I thought that was good, thought he was finally growing up, learning independence, becoming a man. He went to college. We talked maybe once a month. Short conversations. He'd ask how I was doing. I'd ask about his classes. Nothing deep, but that seemed normal to me. That's how men communicate. You don't sit around talking about feelings. After college, he got a job in another city, met a woman named Sarah. They got married when he was 28. I went to the wedding. It was nice. He seemed happy. Sarah seemed like a good woman. A little too soft-spoken for my taste, but good enough for Michael. The calls started getting less frequent after the wedding. Maybe every couple months, then every few months. I figured that was normal. He had a wife now, a new life. He didn't need his old man calling all the time. Then, 15 years ago, the calls just stopped. Completely. I called him a few times, left messages. He never called back. I tried calling Sarah. She answered once, said Michael was busy, said they'd call me back. They never did. I was angry at first. What kind of son doesn't call his father? After everything I did for him, after I paid for his education, after I raised him and provided for him, I thought he was ungrateful, selfish, too absorbed in his own life to spare 5 minutes for his father. But months turned into years, and the anger turned into something else. Confusion, hurt. I didn't understand what I'd done wrong. I'd been a good father. I'd given him everything. Why wouldn't he talk to me? I asked my brother about it once, asked if Michael had said anything to him. My brother got quiet and said maybe I should talk to Michael directly. I said I'd tried, that Michael wouldn't answer. My brother just shook his head and changed the subject. I saw Michael twice in those 15 years, both times at funerals. My mother's funeral 8 years ago, and my sister's funeral 3 years ago. He came to both, brought Sarah and the kids, but he barely spoke to me, just a quick hello, a handshake, then he'd find somewhere else to be. At my mother's funeral, I tried to talk to him, asked about the kids. He gave me one-word answers. I asked when we could get together. He said he'd let me know. He never did. At my sister's funeral, I didn't even try. I just watched him from across the room, watched him laugh with his cousins, watched him hug other family members, watched him be warm and open with everyone, except me. And I couldn't figure out why. 3 weeks ago, my brother called me, said he needed to talk to me about something important. He came over that afternoon, sat down at my kitchen table, looked uncomfortable. My brother took a deep breath and said Michael had told him everything about 5 years ago, made him promise not to tell me. But my brother said he couldn't keep it in anymore, that I deserved to know, even if I wouldn't like it. He said that when Michael was 14, something happened at school. Some boys were bullying him, calling him names, pushing him around. It went on for months. Michael was terrified. He tried to tell me about it one night at dinner. I remember that conversation now. Michael said some kids at school were giving him a hard time. I asked if he'd hit them back. He said no. I told him that's why they kept doing it, that he needed to stand up for himself, fight back, show them he wasn't weak. I told him I didn't raise a coward. He tried to explain that it wasn't that simple, that there were 3 of them, that they were bigger than him. I cut him off, told him to stop making excuses, that if he kept acting like a victim, people would keep treating him like one. My brother said Michael went to school the next day and tried to fight back like I told him. The boys beat him up pretty badly, gave him a black eye and a split lip. The school called me. I had to pick him up. I remember that day. I was annoyed that I had to leave work. When I got there and saw his face, I asked what happened. He said he'd tried to fight back like I told him to. He was crying. I told him to stop crying, that he was embarrassing himself, that he needed to try harder next time, to be tougher. My brother said that was the day Michael learned he couldn't come to me for help, that I would never protect him, never comfort him, never actually be there for him when he needed me. He said the bullying got worse after that, went on for 2 more years. Michael never told me about it again. He dealt with it alone. He became depressed, started having anxiety attacks. My brother said Michael's grades dropped. He stopped eating properly, stopped sleeping. I didn't notice any of that. Or if I did, I thought it was just teenage stuff, mood swings. I never asked him what was wrong, never sat down with him, never told him he could talk to me. My brother said when Michael was 16, he tried one more time. He came to me about something. I don't remember what, some problem. And I told him to stop whining and deal with it, that life was hard, that he needed to handle things himself. My brother said that was the moment Michael gave up on me. That was when he decided his father would never be someone he could trust, someone he could be vulnerable with, someone who would actually listen. After that, Michael just went through the motions, finished high school, went to college, called once a month because that's what you're supposed to do. But there was nothing real in those conversations, no actual connection, because he'd learned that showing me who he really was, what he really felt, was pointless, even dangerous. My brother said when Michael got married, Sarah asked him about our relationship, asked why they never talked. Michael told her everything, told her about the bullying,
about coming to me for help and being told to man up, about learning that his feelings didn't matter to me, that weakness wasn't acceptable, that he had to be tough or I'd be disappointed in him. Sarah suggested family therapy, suggested Michael talk to me about all of this. But Michael said there was no point, that I would never understand, that I would probably just tell him he was being too sensitive, being dramatic, making a big deal out of nothing. So instead, Michael just stopped calling. He decided it was healthier for him and his family to have no relationship with me than to keep pretending we had one. My brother said Michael didn't hate me, he just couldn't be around me. Because every time he saw me, he remembered being 14 and terrified and coming to me for help and being told he was weak. He remembered being 16 and trying one more time and being told to stop whining. He remembered a lifetime of being told his feelings didn't matter, that crying was shameful, that needing help was weakness, that being vulnerable was unacceptable. My brother said Michael became a father himself and swore he would never do to his kids what I did to him. He tells his son it's okay to cry, that asking for help is brave, that feelings are valid. He hugs his children, tells them he loves them, creates a safe space for them to be whoever they are. And he can't do that and have a relationship with me, because I represent everything he's trying not to be. My brother finished talking and just sat there looking at me, waiting for me to say something. I didn't know what to say. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I tried to defend myself, said I was just raising him the way I was raised, that my father was tough on me and I turned out fine, that boys need to learn to be strong. My brother shook his head and said that's exactly the problem, that I didn't turn out fine, that I turned out emotionally distant, unable to connect with my own son, unable to show affection or vulnerability, that the cycle just continued. He said Michael broke the cycle, that I could have too, but I chose not to. I chose to parent the way I was parented, instead of actually seeing who my son was and what he needed. After my brother left, I sat alone in my house for hours, thinking about everything he'd said, remembering moments I hadn't thought about in years.
I remembered Michael at 6 years old, crying because he fell off his bike. I told him big boys don't cry, told him to get back on the bike. I remembered him at 9, coming home from school upset because he didn't make the baseball team. I told him he probably didn't practice hard enough, that winners don't make excuses. I remembered him at 12, trying to talk to me about a girl he liked. I laughed and told him to focus on his grades instead of girls. I remembered him at 17, nervous about college, trying to tell me he was scared. I told him fear was weakness, that he just needed to go and figure it out. All these moments I thought I was teaching him to be strong, to be a man. I thought I was helping him, but I wasn't. I was teaching him that I wasn't safe, that his feelings were wrong, that he couldn't come to me, that I didn't care about who he actually was, only who I wanted him to be. I picked up the phone a dozen times over the next few days, started to call Michael, hung up every time. What would I even say? Sorry for your entire childhood? Sorry for being the father you needed me not to be? Last week, I wrote him a letter, told him my brother had told me everything, told him I was sorry, that I didn't realize what I was doing, that I thought I was helping him, that I was wrong.
I told him I understood why he stopped calling, that I didn't blame him, that he was protecting himself and his family, and I respected that. I told him I knew it was probably too late, that 15 years of silence can't be fixed with one letter, but I wanted him to know that I finally understood, finally saw what I'd done. I mailed it 3 days ago. I don't know if he'll read it, don't know if he'll respond. I'm not expecting him to, because the truth is, I don't deserve a response. I had 43 years to be the father he needed, 43 years to listen, to create safety, to show him his feelings mattered, to tell him I loved him no matter what. And I didn't. I was too busy being the father I thought I was supposed to be, too busy following the playbook my father gave me, too busy believing that toughness mattered more than tenderness. Now I'm 71 years old. I have 2 grandchildren I've never held, a daughter-in-law I barely know, and a son who learned he was better off without me. My brother said Michael is happy, that he has a good life, a loving marriage, great kids, close friends, that he went to therapy and worked through a lot of the damage from his childhood. And I'm glad. I'm glad he didn't let what I did to him ruin his life. I'm glad he became a better father than I was. I'm glad he broke the cycle. But it hurts, knowing that his happiness, his peace, his good life all happened without me, that I'm not a part of it, that the best thing I could do for my son was stay away. People ask me sometimes if I have kids. I say yes, 1 son. They ask if we're close. I say no. They usually don't ask why. If they did, I wouldn't know how to explain it without admitting that I failed at the one job that actually mattered. I see fathers and sons together sometimes, at restaurants, at stores, laughing together, talking easily, and I wonder what that's like, to have that kind of relationship, to have a son who actually wants to be around you. I'll never have that, and it's my own fault. If you're a father, please listen to your kids. Actually listen, not just to the words, but to what they're feeling, what they need. Create space for them to be scared, to be sad, to be vulnerable. Tell them it's okay, that you've got them, that they don't have to be tough all the time. Because if you don't, one day they'll be 43 years old, and they won't call you anymore. And you'll be 71, sitting alone in your house, finally understanding why, and it will be too late to fix it. I know why my son stopped calling now, and I wish I'd known 15 years ago. I wish I'd known 30 years ago. I wish I'd been a different father. But I wasn't. And now all I have is silence, regret, and the knowledge that I destroyed the relationship that should have mattered most. 15 years. That's how long it took me to finally understand what I did wrong. And that's about 14 years and 15 months too late.